Members present, I declare the motion passed.
It's 3:17 p.m. now. I believe that the next motion will be completed within today. So after that motion is completed, I will adjourn the meeting. Members' motion with no legislative effect. The Honourable Eunice Yong will move a motion modernizing the government's governance. Two members will move amendments to the motion. This council will proceed to a joint debate on the motion and the amendments. Later, I'll first call upon the Honourable Hoi-yan to speak and move the motion. Then I'll call upon the Honourable Chung-hung and Dr. Johnny Ng to speak in sequence, but they may not move the amendments at this stage. The joint debate now begins. Members who wish to speak, please press the request to speak button. I now call upon the Honourable Hoi-yan to speak and move the motion. President, I move the motion as printed on the agenda be passed. I hope that the government can fulfill the four proposals put forward by the President Xi Jinping, further improving governance and earnestly addressing people's concerns in order to realize the fundamental interests of all people. These are very, very important proposals. And we want to achieve the modernization of its governance, including making use of good talents and technology to enhance governance effectiveness. So we should come up with a better system. So if we can achieve that, we will be able to achieve what is proposed in the 20th National Congress, and that is to realize, safeguard, and advance the fundamental interests of all our people and enhance people's sense of gain. So how do we modernize governance? One of the objectives or indicators is the public's response and criticisms of the government. In the past, the government has been criticized as being inefficient, and it takes a long time to from policy formulation and implementation. A lot of costs are involved. The policies are not effective, and people are not happy. At this day and age, I think the government must streamline its procedures to achieve the proposed objective. So I have three suggestions here. First, we must make use of talents. We should coordinate communication among various departments, and we should also handle complaints efficiently. First, on making good use of talents, that is using the right people. President, we know that attitude decides on how far you can go. And I appreciate Mr. John Lee, after assuming office, has been adamant in implementing the policy of result-oriented approach. And his team is very proactive. Ms. Alice Mack, the Secretary for HYA, has been visiting districts with us. And Ms. Winnie Ho, the Secretary for Housing, yesterday. We visited the light public housing. We tried to understand the situation of subdivided units. We have given a lot of views on the design, and she is willing to listen to our views. She is also from the architecture profession, so she is actively heeding our views. I think the team can really help address livelihood issues and focus their efforts on building a rich society and addressing the issue of the wealth gap in Hong Kong. Now, we also are concerned about the staff establishment, how we should increase manpower, reduce manpower, how should we make sure that the government is effective. I think members have different views on that, but we should not be just counting on government officials in achieving all these. We should also help with youth development. I'm happy to see that the Chief Secretary for Administration is here, and the youth program led by the CS4A aims to address intergeneration poverty problem. We would like to provide more upward social mobility opportunities for young people. There are two development committees set up covering civic education and youth development, and young people can recommend themselves to sit on such committees, and that's good. And I believe that the government would be able to find the right young people to sit on those committees, and it also shows the government is willing to listen to young people's views. Second, coordination among government departments. I think the government should leverage on technology better, shorten the procedures, enhance governance efficiency to make sure people are happy with your administration. In the audit report, we've seen that there has been unclear division of work among different departments, and technology has not been much employed. And as a result, the government has been inefficient. Last year, when inbound travelers came to Hong Kong and they have to be isolated, they have to use online system to register, but then they could not reach or get access to the website. Has been a litany of complaints, and even after they have ended their isolation, they couldn't even get on the website. So I hope the government can learn from your experience last year and try to leverage on technology better and build a smart government. In recent days, the Audit Commission has pointed out the problem of the continuing education funds. Only 6% of the applications are online, 30 applications, and only 3,000 are online applications, and some 40,000 are applications in hard copies in paper form. So we need cross-departmental collaboration in better leveraging on technology to help governments deal with issues. And if we cannot leverage on technology in the vetting applications, so then we will not be able to supervise the relevant processes effectively. We've been advocating for building up a good database so that the government can ascertain what's being done in the government and what are the requests made by the public. So if we can have a proper database, then all these can be achieved. So a lot of monitoring can only be done in a passive way, and maybe you will not be able to carry out regular or even surprise inspections, so that's not good. Supervision there is wanting. We hope that the government can also establish a cross-departmental database. Now, last on public complaints, we may well recall that yesterday the Ombudsman has proactively investigated into the 1823 hotline, and people have not been happy about that. And 63% of the calls have been cut off because there has been an exceedance in the number of calls. So the system has failed, and it has been a waste of time for people calling that hotline, and people bear even greater grudges against the government as a result. The government should be handling public complaints effectively, so you should nip the problem in the bud. The Ombudsman has been making use of conciliation services or mediation services, and I've been advocating for the government to use more conciliation or mediation services in resolving disputes. When a complaint gets to the Ombudsman, people are already very angry, and then mediation may not work. So I hope the government can make better use of mediation to resolve problems. All in all, we want to achieve modernization of governance. We aim to improve the quality of life. The government should set up a proper system to enhance people's level of contentment. The government should make better use of talents and technology, and also provide more upward social mobility for young people, so that we can achieve the 4 proposals put forward by the presidency, and then we can enhance people's sense of gain and happiness. I so speak in hoping that the members can support my original motion.
Ms. Eunice Yung, please move your motion. President, I beg to move. I now put a question to you that is Ms. Eunice Yung's motion be passed. Mr. Chung-hung. President, I thank Ms. Eunice Yung for moving this motion on modernizing the government's governance. I want the content of the motion to be more specific, and that's why I have put forward the following amendments. Now, on the 1st of July, President Xi put forward 4 proposals, that is to further improve governance and earnestly address people's concerns and difficulties in daily life, to realize, safeguard, and advance the fundamental histories of all people. Now, in Hong Kong, cadres are civil servants. In the 1980s and 90s, because of the impact of liberalization, the number of civil servants were cut drastically, and now civil servants only regard their jobs as a way to make a living, and they have already forgotten the mission to serve the public. So in the original motion, there is the part about making good use of talents. Now we should compete for talents. We must reform the civil service recruitment, training, and promotion systems. There should be clear reward and punishment system for the civil service so that we can have a team of hardworking and ambitious civil service, so they can promote the well-being of our people. And we must ensure that there can be a mechanism to follow up on public complaints efficiently, and therefore we must improve e-government services. I Am Smart is a good try. Still, it fails to provide one-stop services, and very often users are given hyperlinks to other websites. So I suggest that we set up one-stop services so that in one government complex, members of the public can complete all sorts of government applications. Now we have the problem at the management of cabin hospitals, because there is no connection among government databases, and for many government services, paper-based applications are still required. This exposed the fact that the government has a lot to improve in terms of e-government services and one-stop services. Thirdly, we must improve the primary level governance system. In the mainland, they have district committees, street committees, etc. Through this grid management, they can receive inquiries and complaints and requests for help from residents in a more scientific manner. In Hong Kong, we do not have any such system. In fact, we have many social issues, including environmental hygiene and people feeling alienated. I think this is because we need to improve our grid management system. The 18th care teams to be set up can be a good start. We must boost resources for this district care teams so that we can have a grid management system with Hong Kong characteristics. As mentioned in the report to the 20th National Congress, we must enhance the quality of life of our people, and we must address their concerns and difficulties. We should enhance the standard of public services. We should make good use of electronic services, and officials should make it a habit to visit our district so that they can go to our people and understand their concerns and then improve their policies. The government must have the strong sense of social mobilization so that we can develop Hong Kong together. The central government advocates a shared prosperity. Now, in an affluent society, we must ensure that people can share the fruits of prosperity, and the disadvantaged can be well taken care of. We must ensure equal opportunities for all, enhance the income of the lower income bracket, and to broaden the middle class coverage. With these remarks, I move these amendments. Thank you. Dr. Johnny Ng. President Xi came to Hong Kong personally to attend the 25th anniversary of the founding of the Hong Kong SAR and the inauguration ceremony of this term of government. President Xi has put forward 4 proposals for us, including improving governance and earnestly addressing people's concerns and difficulties, and to realize and safeguard and advance the fundamental interests of all our people. Now we're in a new era. We must implement the spirit of President Xi's important speech and also the report delivered at the 20th National Congress. Under the leadership of Mr. John Lee, the Chief Executive, the new term of government is proactive. It has helped to address people's concerns and difficulties. We have resumed normal travel across the border, and I think the effect is for all to see, and people are very satisfied with the work of this government. The government should enhance the implementation of e-government to promote the application of digital connectivity among government departments with the community and streamline public administration procedures, thereby enhancing its credibility and the people's satisfaction of its performance. By providing better service to the community, everyone will have a stronger sense of well-being and gain and contentment. While the government has improved in this regard, there is still room for improvement. I have received views from the sector that the government hasn't been down to earth enough. And one example is the lack of connectivity among government departments. Take application for licenses by SMEs. You want to start a restaurant, you have to make multiple applications to the FSD, the FEHD, and BD, etc. And then the websites are not really user-friendly, and people have to fill out forms providing very similar information time and again. And for our cross-border clearance. Now, very often, members of the public have to go to different websites before they can complete a single process. And very often, the API is not good enough. And usually, the apps provided by one department is not connected with other departments. Whereas in the mainland, they have opened up some of their services to APIs, and so they can offer convenience and efficient services to the public. It is important that we implement e-government. In the 19th National Congress, it was already said that to set up e-government, we must make good use of artificial intelligence and big data. There should be proper mechanisms set up, and public departments should deploy new technology, enhance their work processes, and to promote modernization of government services. With patriots governing Hong Kong, the government should enhance the implementation of e-government so as to raise the quality of governance and efficacy. We must use a smart government. I speak to support Ms. Hoi-yan's motion, and please support my amendments as well.
Chief Secretary for Administration. I thank Ms. Eunice Yong for moving today's motion on modernizing the government's governance system, and Mr. Michael Lok and Dr. Johnny Ng for moving the amendments. It allows us to have an in-depth discussion on how to enhance governance. In the opening, I will briefly address the major points raised by the 3 members in the motion. In his keynote speech on July 1st last year, President Xi mentioned the 4 proposals for the SAR government, that is, further improving its governance, continuing to create strong impetus for growth, earnestly addressing people's concerns and difficulties in livelihood, and working together to safeguard harmony and stability. And in the report of the 20th Party Congress, President Xi also gave his support for the Chief Executive and the SAR government to govern Hong Kong in accordance with the law and urged the SAR government to adhere to executive-led governance and enhance governance capability. These form the building blocks of the CE's policy address last year. On further improving governance, it is important to coordinate cross-departmental communication. At the Council meeting on December 8th last year, the matter was explored in great depth during the motion debate of Mr. Andrew Lam's motion on deepening administrative reform and making continued efforts to enhance government systems. I'm not going to repeat such points today. In short, the government is improving its governance structure, capability, and its effectiveness in different areas, which includes the establishment of 4 task forces led by secretaries or deputy secretaries to handle issues requiring cross-bureau and cross-departmental coordination, and the CE's policy unit for enhancing the government's research and policy-making capabilities on long-term strategic issues. Talent is key in enhancing the overall governance of the government. The government will recruit top-tier talents who are both capable and virtuous, and to attract talents for the civil service structure. And we are also going to optimize the management system of civil servants on the civil service structure, which includes updating the civil service code, enhancing the reward and punishment system, and stepping up training. On the promotion on e-government, we have been adopting innovative technologies and driving the integration of data and workflow between departments so as to speed up digitalization of public services, enhance the efficiency of government services, and enhance governance. The policy address proposed to hasten the establishment of a smart government with a target to digitalize all government services in 2 years and use IM Smart to provide one-stop electronic services in 3 years so that all government services are just a click away. On the handling of public complaints, there are complaint channels available for all government departments. The 1823 under the Efficiency Office offers a one-stop service at 24 hours, and for cases involving multiple departments with unclear responsibilities, 1823 would take proactive intervention to clarify the responsibilities to ensure proper management of cross-departmental complaints. In improving district-level governance and communication with the public, Hong Kong is at the crucial stage of advancing to prosperity, improving regional governance, and implementing effective measures and addressing the needs of the people are important works of the government. One example is the CS-led District Matters Coordination Task Force, kicking off the launch of the Hong Kong cleanup campaign to handle hygiene black spots, which has seen effective results. In addition, in his policy address, the Chief Executive announced the setting up of district services and community care teams in all 18 districts to organize caring activities, handle unexpected emergencies, disseminate government information, and report public views to the government. The government will set up care teams in Tsuen Wan and the Southern District in the first quarter of this year. This term's government adopts a strategy of targeted poverty alleviation by directing resources to those most in need. Alleviating poverty is to help those in need and at the same time encourage and support those with working ability to find jobs to sustain themselves. The government will continue to drive economic development, attract investments, strengthen traditional advantages, develop newly emerged industries, meet the mainland strategy, and provide better and more diversified work opportunities. This can increase direct economic benefits, achieve poverty alleviation, and create conditions to enhance resources to meet housing, medical needs, and provide a safety net for those most in dire need. Ever since this government came on board, we have been fully implementing President Xi's 4 must and 4 proposals. The SAR government will continue to work with all sectors to fully implement the policies and measures mentioned in the policy address to enhance governance and fulfill one of the 4 measures I proposed earlier this year, which is to have the government function well and to have people live in harmony to build a better and brighter future for Hong Kong. President, I will listen carefully to members' views and give a consolidated reply after.
Mr. Lee Chung-hung, thank you, President. On the 1st of July last year, President Xi Jinping made an important speech and he asked the government to improve governance and earnestly address people's concerns and difficulties so that the SLG can be properly and well developed. To earnestly address people's concerns and to in order to safeguard the fundamental interests of all our people, the LP and myself are of the view that first we must enhance collaboration among government departments, streamline red tape and procedures, make good use of new technology and big data, and we must be in touch with the reality so that the public can see the effectiveness of governance. Now, the government is compartmentalized. This has been severely criticized. As a result, we can't have effective governance. With the start of this new term of government, I'm pleased to see that in many areas that require collaboration and coordination, the government has improved a lot. In particular, the coordination, district coordination work led by Mr. Chung-hung has improved hygiene black spots in society, and then we've been given the situation in various black spots before and after the operation. I really welcome this approach. Many members of the public have said to me that they have seen marked improvement in their neighborhood environment, and they are sure that Mr. Chung can do a good job, and they want him to keep up with this good work. Now, young people face difficulties in their education, career, and housing, and also starting their own career. Now, the EDB is responsible for education, housing department responsible for accommodation. Now, with the newly formed Home Affairs and Youth Bureau, it is tasked to tackle these 4 major challenges of our young people. We have a lot of expectations for this bureau. Now, as for taking care of the housing needs of our young people, the recently hot topic is light public housing. It is a way to help people who have been waiting for PRH for more than 3 years so that they can be given appropriate accommodation earlier. I'm sure this is a well-intentioned policy to address the dire housing needs of subdivided households so that they can be given proper housing earlier. However, this incident has highlighted one issue. The government must not just feel good about its policy. It must explain its policy to all stakeholders, gauge their views, consult them properly, and then think of answers to possible questions and queries from these stakeholders so that we will not mar something which is good originally. This government has also introduced the idea of a red team to be to critically assess government policies and strategies. Now, on the question of public-like housing, I'd like to know whether the government has made use of its red team mechanism and assessed the possible negative repercussions of this policy. Now, we have members from geographical constituencies and also from different functional constituencies, they are important thermometers, and they can give you feedback on various policies from the community. I hope the government can fully utilize this very useful tool. Please explain your policies to us beforehand. Don't treat us as rubber stamp. Don't think that we will always support your policies. Then you can really enhance people's satisfaction in this government's policy governance so that we can really realize, safeguard, and advance the fundamental interests of all people. Thank you.
Mr. Chen Chung-hung, thank you, President. I speak to support and thank Ms. Eunice Yeung for moving the motion on modernizing the government's governance. This is the year in which we should be implementing the proposals in the 20th National Congress. We are all geared up to start something new, and I think Ms. Eunice Yeung has moved this motion in a timely manner, urging the government to modernize the governance structure to build a better Hong Kong for the benefits of Hong Kong people. Since assumption of office, the current term government has been putting efforts to enhance governance level in safeguarding national security, fighting the epidemic, increasing land and housing supply. The government has achieved certain progress. In a recent opinion poll, it shows that out of the 9 policy areas, 6 have seen increased scores. In particular, the land and housing policy issue has scored a very good mark. So we must affirm the achievements made by the government. Even though we have a good start, it doesn't mean that there is no room for further improvement. On the contrary, I fully agree with the original motion in that in order to achieve the modernization of governance, the government must do more to coordinate communication among different departments and handle public complaints efficiently. In order to modernize governance and strengthen coordination among government departments, this is of paramount importance. The government has been emphasizing one government teamwork, and the CS48 has been leading the project to clamp down on hygiene black spots, and the Housing Bureau has been working very hard to increase housing supply. This is to be well recognized and affirmed. I would like to say one point more. In order to modernize governance, we must make better use of the concept of ESG. I think the government should implement ESG more effectively. The government should also adjust parameters affecting the government's image. It should continue to enhance governance level and efficiency. I think the government should take the lead in building an ESG culture in government departments and implement the relevant policy. It should require major departments to incorporate ESG disclosure criteria as adopted in listed companies so that the public can monitor and understand the efficiency of various government departments. Now, for the 2 amendments about building a e-government and also leveraging on database utilization, I think we should advance with the times. We should leverage on technology to enhance governance level. We should adopt big data analytics, AI, and so on. And we should incorporate these in our governance structure. We should make our procedures more efficient. In building the e-government, the government should put an extra effort so that government services are made more convenient. The Singapore government has introduced a one-stop e-government services whereby their citizens can use their mobile phones to access services, and they are given an e-identity. So citizens there can handle all e-government government applications using their mobile phones. Mainland cities are adopting a similar system. I think the government should take reference from such successful examples and expedite on building e-government services and also enhance the I Am Smart platform. The 3-year epidemic has meant that Hong Kong has lost a lot of development opportunities. We must catch up, and the foremost task is for us to enhance our governance level. I hope that the government should take the lead in building a better Hong Kong. I so submit. Thank you, President. Dr. Low Wai Kwok. I'd like to thank Ms. Eunice Yeung for moving the motion and the amendments made by the two members. In 2022, President Xi made an important speech. On the 1st July, he put forward 4 proposals, and that is improving governance, strengthening momentum for development, addressing livelihood issues, and upholding harmony and stability. And then in the 20th National Congress of the CCP, President Xi also said that Hong Kong must enhance the one country, two systems, and we should improve governance. The central authorities have attached a lot of importance in improving governance standards of HKSAR because it has everything to do with making sure that the one country, two systems can be implemented steadfastly. BPA supports that. The SAR government must pull in the efforts of all parties, and it must also expedite reforms and enhance capability of the government in 3 areas. Planning capability, taking control of things, and also coordination capability. We must also enhance our administrative efficiency, improve policy implementation, and its capability to respond to public opinion. In the first policy address made by Mr. John Lee, he has floated new ideas for enhancing the governance system. And he would like to work on improving the governance system. The SAR, the chief executive will set up a task force to help the Hong Kong integrate into the national development. And there is also the Northern Metropolis Committee. And the CE policy unit has also been established so that the CE can enhance its capability in a certain and research into areas. And 118 KPIs have been set up. And he also mentions that he should compress the land creation timetable, and there is a dedicated task force to vet the land applications. And all these shows the government's determination to enhance its governance level. That warrants our support. To further enhance our governance level, as our government can strengthen work in these 3 areas. First, like what I said many times, the government should remove barriers, streamline administrative procedures, and also amend out-of-date regulations and laws. Our administrative system, our policy implementation procedures have been there for a long time, and in recent years we found that those to be too rigid and cannot meet with the latest development in the society. And there have been a lot of obstacles in identifying land and developing land, and the government has made a great stride. The government has submitted a land creation bill to shorten land resumption and so on. And the SL government should leverage on new technologies to promote e-government services so that government departments can better use AI, blockchain technology, and big data analytics. There should be linkage of data among government departments. We should enhance I Am Smart platform. We should build a central identity database. We should build a one-stop e-government service platform, and we should expedite discussions with Macau and mainland authorities to mutually recognize e-signatures, etc. And for civil service training, we should also advance with the times. We should enhance civil servants' understanding of the Constitution, basic law, one country, two systems, and important policies. And we should urge the civil servants to better leverage and use of technology, and they should enhance their skills. They should learn more about immediate skills, skills in responding to political questions, and so on. So their policy-making capability should be improved. I so submit, President, in support of the motion. Dr. Priscilla Leung. President, I speak in support of Ms. Eunice Yong's motion of modernizing the government's governance and the two amendments moved by the two members. President, first I would like to say that this is my 14th year as a electoral member. For 13 years, I was an directly elected member. The chief executive and the secretaries of departments have been very hardworking. This is indisputable, and they are also very friendly. They are extremely hardworking. Very often, I may call bureau director at 11:30 p.m. They always come back. And for the CS4A, he attends to matters more small and large. And the deputy CS4A is here today, and I've been focusing on street hygiene, and the hygiene situation has improved significantly. I hope that there can be another territory-wide exercise to resolve the hygiene problems. If we work concertedly, then the problem can be resolved. So maybe you'll conduct one exercise, and 3 months later, the hygiene black spots will appear again. So I give you a thumbs up for your work. And in December, I was infected, and my family and I have enjoyed the benefits of your drug delivery service, and they've been very careful. The drugs have been delivered to us most efficiently. And on the 8th of January and the 6th of February, there were the reopening of the border. And I saw that everything went smoothly. There was no major issue. And the chief executive on that day went to the BCPs very early. So that kind of work has to be affirmed.
In the minds of the public, they're concerned whether the top echelon of the government is able to resolve issues. But your sincerity is of paramount importance to enhance the public's understanding of your commitment to resolving issues. Now, President Xi emphasizes that the government should break new grounds and be innovative. In other words, there should be innovation in our culture, in theories, in the institution, and in practice. Now, I rank the 4 key areas in this order, and I think that he's referring to civil service reform. Whilst the chief executive is going full throttle, what is key is whether the middle-ranking officials are following suit. If they are unable to catch up, then your policy implementation may not be as effective. So it's all about the mindset. Now we talk about digitizing services and providing one-stop service. Is it possible when the initiative is implemented at the front line? Now, let me give you one example. United Center, on the 3rd floor is the Transport Department's licensing office. Every day you see queues lining up in the office. Bookings are allowed, but even if you've made a booking, you still need to hand in forms
for a driving test in person, and that means queuing up for a few hours. So when things reach the front line, we must not ignore the fact that we have this big organ called the civil service here. So you should really be able to break barriers and be innovative. So for middle-ranking government officials and civil servants in general, we need to revamp their mindset. I understand that you are doing your level best in your own areas, but you also need to improve internal governance. That should be an overhaul before you're able to reform the system as a whole. The new term of government has just started for a few months, and I'm confident that this chief executive will be able to help break new grounds.
Ms. Nixie Lam. Thank you, President. I thank Ms. Eunice Yung for moving this motion. On the 1st of July last year, President Xi, in his keynote speech, mentioned the 4 proposals for the Hong Kong SAR government, with improving governance, the priority on top of the other 3 expectations. The Hong Kong SAR government must seize this opportunity where we enjoy stability. We have to be brave and also be innovative in improving our governance, our governing capacity, as well as efficiency, to address the deep-rooted issues accumulated over the years and achieve good governance. Since the current term of government has come into office, we have been upholding the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong. Officials are taking up responsibilities, the efficiency has improved, and the government is one with commitment. We have to further modernize governance and turn visions into reality. We have to first enhance the top-level management design. There have been many reforms in terms of restructuring of government bureaus and departments, as well as dedicated task force to address deep-rooted issues involving cross-departmental efforts. The direction is well commanding. However, because of the distribution of tasks and responsibilities, we are worried that some departments may be working on their own instead of collaborating. Say, for example, improving environmental hygiene. Because of the scattering responsibilities, it requires a deputy secretary to coordinate the effort. So that should be a standardized model on how cross-departmental issues can be addressed. We have to make sure that the policy intention is communicated across the departments, and we have to make the governments more efficient in directing the market. We have to remove red tapes and remove the barriers between departments to ensure that there is efficiency. In terms of setting KPIs for departments, policy objectives are materialized in the form of KPIs so that the public can monitor the government's efficiency. It will help in terms of improving governance. However, in terms of the details of the KPIs, there can be more improvements. Say, for example, the publicity campaign towards the world. Well, it is not sufficient to just look at the click rate. We have to gauge the recipient's response to our publicity campaign as well. The government should review the performance of governance in terms of different indicators to reflect the true picture. The civil service is the backbone of the government. It is the key to maintain efficient governance as well as stability in Hong Kong. We have to make sure that civil servants understand the broad direction of the government's governance and enhance their awareness as well as their acceptability to the government's direction of reform. The government must enhance collaboration between political appointees and the civil service and make sure that the plan is understood by all civil servants. And also we should enhance training mechanism for civil servants and extend training to top and mid-tier management civil servants. Besides national education, there are also topics like interpersonal relationship and such and similar courses which are very useful for them. We have to ensure that there is a sense of gain and fulfillment enjoyed by civil servants, and there should be organic integration of different elements. Now, good governance is not just a slogan. To achieve this objective, we need the Hong Kong SAR government and people from different sectors to cooperate, to work towards the goal. I'm pleased to see that this term of the government has been showing its commitment to address people's livelihood issues. I hope that the government can establish a result-oriented and efficient governance culture so that there can be results delivered. Thank you. Mr. Yim Kong. Thank you, President. I thank Ms. Ines Yung for her motion, which gives us an opportunity to visit the issue on how we can improve the governance of Hong Kong SAR government from different perspectives and enhance the governance efficiency. It is the expectation of the public. Last year, as the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's reunification with China, President Xi said that we have to improve our governance and invigorate the governance culture and make sure that the government can show its commitment. Since the coming into office of this term of the government is one of a result-oriented government. It has been sparing no efforts in terms of identifying land and removing red tapes in terms of delivering results. In half a year's time, the public can really feel that the government has the will and the ability to deliver in terms of fighting against the epidemic and also resumption of cross-border travel, as well as other aspirations. The government is moving forward and is always improving its efforts. As a result, we are able to resume cross-boundary travel with the mainland. Now, the government has been doing a good job in terms of negotiating with the mainland counterparts so that people can reunite. And there are lots of applause for the government's efforts. According to a public survey, Mr. John Lee, the chief executive's approval rating has risen to 50 by 5.7 points to a new high since year 2018. And also the satisfactory rating for the government has reached 46%, which is a new high since year 2017. It shows that this government enjoys the recognition and support of the public as a whole. In terms of improving the governance of the government, we have to address the issue where some departments are still working with no sense of urgency. And also there are unclear delineations of responsibilities among departments. The Central People's Government has laid down the strategic direction to resume economic growth after the epidemic. Now, in the Guangdong province, has called a mobilization ceremony on the 28th of January with tens of thousands of people attending. A new Guangdong will be formed and developed. It shows the commitments of the Guangdong provincial governments to adhere to the general direction of the country. Now, the Hong Kong SAR government should learn from the Guangdong provincial government. Now, springtime is a good time for planning ahead. I hope that the Hong Kong SAR government can be more focused in delivering results and charge a new way forward in terms of good governance and abandon rigid and complicated procedures and also set new governance targets for the Hong Kong SAR government and ensure that there are clear delineation of responsibilities. The government should work for the best interest of the public and lay down a great foundation for further development of the economy. While integrating with the national development, we should also develop Hong Kong's economy to address deep-rooted issues and create space for growth and impetus for growth. I support the motion and the amendments. Dr. Dick Ji-yun. Thank you, President. Enhancing governance and address deep-rooted livelihood issues are the expectation of the public. I have 3 points. First, the government should listen to the public's opinion, and the administration should be based on public opinion. Now, recently, the government has been working with urgency. However, there are criticisms that the government is being out of touch and they are not listening to people's views. Delivering is not enough. We have to make sure that the results are what people need. Now, say for example, now some principal officials are not listening to people's views and they are only making amends afterwards. Some officials are really out of touch with people's daily life. It is very important for principal officials to really listen to what people has to say. Now, in terms of the of our public survey mechanism, it is in collapse. We don't have a mutual aid community, and also a lot of advisory bodies are having their powers removed. Now, for the red teams mentioned in the policy address, there is no implementation timetable yet. It seems that the government is working in an echo chamber. Now, how can public opinions enter the policy-making process if this is the case? Now, there should be government monitor of the government. After the year 2019 incident, the civic society has been in crumble, and we are hearing fewer and fewer voices, and the civic society's role in monitoring the government has receded. Now, as LegCo member, it is our job to criticize the government and hold the government to account. This is our job. We support the administration of the Hong Kong government. However, it doesn't mean that we will blindly support the government. If we go overboard in protecting the government will not improve. The officials will become complacent. If we fail to reflect the people's views, well, we would be neglecting our duties. Third, development of the democratic system. A democratic system can make sure that people's views can enter the chamber as well as the government. It will make sure that the government base its policy and making on a public opinion. However, the government always say that democratic development would hinder governance. This narrow mindset shows that the government is afraid of people's oversight. The government always says that the government is an executive-led system. However, without taking on board people's views, it will cause more hindrance to governance. A democratic system is not just a one people, one person, one vote system. It is also very important for people to make their voice heard, and through this system, the relationship between the people and the government can be improved. Democratic system is Hong Kong people's aspiration. It is also a promise made by the Central People's Government to the Hong Kong people. We need the right soil and consensus for our democratic system to move forward. And this is also the constitutional responsibility of the government. Thank you.
Mr. Rock-Chen, thank you, President. The presidency spoke on the 1st of July about enhancing Hong Kong's level of governance. This is a very crucial point, area of study of the academics. It is also an important growth point. When it comes to modernizing the government's governance, it means that the governance should change with the times. Since the 1990s, there was the introduction of a new paradigm of public administration. So there is a new approach is been running for several years, and we have now seen the problem. Say, for example, uneven allocation of resources, deep-seated conflicts. This hinders the government's governance of Hong Kong. In order to change that, the government should change its mentality of big government, small market. It should be the other way round. The government should be more active. When it comes to allocation and creation of wealth, the government should play a bigger role. The market should be used to resolve livelihood problems. Members of the public should be able to feel the fruit of change. In the past, policy bureaus are restricted by their policies. It's difficult for these policies to be implemented. At the start of this government, there was a reorganization. We now have Transport and Logistics Bureau and the Housing Bureau split from the same bureau from the last government. When it comes to reorganization, that alone is insufficient. We need to have other reforms, say, for example, streamlining administrative procedure and improvement of statutory requirements, better communication, promotion of innovative thinking. They are all very important. The government shows determination to improve its governance. I give them recognition. But in order to do that, there should be effective communication. They all should share the same mentality that their approach should be result-oriented. Different levels of government should work together to align their efforts. In order to enhance the government's governance efficiency, there should be streamlining of procedures. Otherwise, everything will be hindered by cumbersome procedures, and members of the public will not be able to feel the result. I also agree with Mr. Look and Mr. Ng's amendments. There should be improvement of e-government services. In a lot of other places, they use the internet to collect public opinion so that the government can quickly respond to that. But in Hong Kong, it's a one-way street. Most of the information is disseminated, but feedback's not gathered. There is no transparency and there is no public mandate. The government should make use of technology, say, for example, big data, AI, together with a social media platform to enhance communication. This will enhance the public's confidence of the government. I speak in support of Ms. Yong's original motion and the amendments. Mr. Tang Fei, Mr. Rock Chen. Well, Mr. President Xi talked about enhancing governance systems, capability, and efficiency. There should be a change in the entire governance approach. We need to enhance our competitiveness as well as our productivity. President Xi's speech covers the many policies, systems of the government. We need healthy interaction amongst these different systems. I can see strategies, reforms, communications, and the use of talents. Good governance will be able to monitor efficient market operation. It will promote the development of industries. It will provide high-quality public service so that members of different strata will be able to feel the government's work. I can see that that can be done, but with the 25-year of reunification with mainland, members of the public has the impression that the government is quite calcified and are enslaved to the system. People talk about 1823. But this system has not made good use of technology to improve and efficiency. During the epidemic, at one point, this system crashed because of the volume of use. So I agree with other members that we need to rely on technology and e-government service. We have deep-seated conflicts. To a certain extent, it is because the government's failure to realize what the current situation is. They have not come up with policies that are in line with the times. There should be top-down approach for policies to be launched to win the hearts of the public. They also need to enhance the management of the civil service. Different quarters of society and different sectors of society should have healthy interaction. Using the example of light public housing in Kai Tak, yes, we agree that we need to help grassroots, especially those living in subdivided units. Well, but you should not help the people living in subdivided units at the expense of the middle class. There should be proper communication. There should be good explanation of the policy. The government should also promise that the site will be returned to the original plan in Kai Tak. And I do think that this will alleviate the confrontation between the government and people. When it comes to work of the government, if it covers different departments, sometimes the work is left undone. So there should be streamlining of the procedure, restructuring of procedures, and reduction of duplication. We're now moving towards prosperity. I think the focus should be on economic and social development. With improvement in the economy and people's lives, then members of the public will be able to share the fruit of our development. There should be an organic combination of the different systems. The government should have an open mind so that the bright prospect of one country, two system can continue. Mr. Tang Fei. I speak in support of Ms. Yong's original motion and the amendments. When it comes to gauging the government's governance, it should be done against a one country, two system context instead of just focusing on external affairs. In the 20th National Congress report, it's mentioned that when it comes to modernization of our country, well, we need to modernize Hong Kong's government's governance. We need to keep the long-term prosperity. That is an important part of the modernization of China. When it comes to modernizing the government's governance, then we need to look at the macro level of the relationship between Hong Kong and our country. First, how do we contribute towards to our country? When it comes to the preparation office of the mediation center and the visit to Saudi Arabia, I think they are prime examples. Hong Kong's unique position should be used to for a mediation center to be established here, because this will dovetail the government's strategy when it comes to setting up an arbitration and mediation center. In December, the state leader visited Middle Eastern countries to promote national strategies. This month, our chief executive visited Saudi Arabia to perform his duties. Well, these countries will benefit. Our country will benefit as well. When it comes to establishing common good for all humanities, I think these visits are very effective. In the Chief Executive's first policy address, he mentioned about a steering committee to integrate into national development. This will dovetail the work of the five-year plan. And it also prepares for the 15th five-year plan. There will also be a development office for GBA. This will align our work with counterparts in cities of the GBA. So we can see that when it comes to establishment of structure, there are new units set up to dovetail with the counterparts on the mainland. This will be conducive to policy coordination. In relation to another area of work, I hope that there will be more planned announced. Say, for example, the next visit. How can Hong Kong's INT contribute towards a national strategy when there is a very tense conflicts? The CE always mention about a result-oriented approach, that is KPIs. They can be clearly defined. We can be accountable to our country, and this will also benefit Hong Kong. In short, when it comes to one country, two system, we need the modernization of our governance. It is an important part. I speak to support the original motion and the amendments. Thank you.
Mr. Tony Chair. Thank you, Mr. President. Presidency delivered a key address on the 1st of July and put forward the 4 proposals for the SAR government, including further improving governance and earnestly addressing people's concerns and difficulties in daily life, as the motion suggests. Presidency emphasizes that the SAR government should adopt a new mindset and have a better assessment of the relationship between the government and the market, so that we have a capable and small government combined with the efficient market. I have strong feelings about this remark. After reunification, there is a prevailing perception that when it comes to public housing production, it's taking longer and it's becoming more costly. The problem is the government officials who are supposed to be the gatekeeper have not done a good job. It seems that whenever the government approves a private project, there is the accusation of government-private or government-business collusion. Some private development projects, therefore, have been put on the back burner, and some developers have given up the project altogether. Of course, the government should be the gatekeeper. The government should have overall oversight of the developments in Hong Kong. On the other hand, high efficiency should be maintained so that we have a small government and an efficient market. Presidency also emphasizes that the government should enhance governance and show resolve and commitment in breaking new grounds. In the past, some government officials within the SAR government shunned responsibilities and avoided trouble. When there were hurdles, the applicants would be left to their own device, and it was difficult to arrange for a meeting with government officials. Calls were not answered, and even more problems were created for the applicants. We should do away with the mindset in the present times. Presidency also made some other remarks on another occasion as follows. A good system should be built so that those performing well should be promoted and those underperforming should be phased out. And the Civil Service Bureau in recent years rolled out a number of commendation schemes. This is one way of implementing what presidency said, but this is far from sufficient. Specifically, there is no improvement to the present mechanism of handling underperforming civil servants. And according to present presidency, the public aspires to have a better life and a bigger flat to live in. And the government should show more resolve, make bolder moves to tackle problems. Recently, light public housing has been a hot button issue. Although it is costing the public coffers a lot, with only a short lifespan, the project could help tens of thousands of underprivileged households. They will see their living conditions improved, and this is one way of showing how the government has resolved to tackle the problems. And that is why in this morning's Public Works Subcommittee, I voted for the government's proposal. Dr. Tan Yue-hung. Thank you, Mr. President. Presidency delivered the key address on the 1st of July last year, and he said that the SAR government should further improve governance and improve the government's capability and efficiency. As far as the governance in Hong Kong is concerned, the chief executive is the head of the government. And the capability and efficiency of the government is by and large a key factor in maintaining political and social stability in Hong Kong. So for this term of government, the major issue to be resolved is to enhance the government's governance and efficiency. I support Ms. Yong's motion and also the amendments put forward by other members, and I'd also like to make some suggestions on my own on providing e-government services. Now, on modernizing the government's governance, as we enter the digital era, we need to consolidate resources in order to provide one-stop service platform which is highly efficient for the public, and this is crucial. And at the moment, the system in Hong Kong is not efficient, and different services are delivered in a scattered manner. For example, a more systemic approach should be taken from top down to digitize public services. And of course, this will bring a short-term pain to the government in the transitional period. Services should be rationalized. We should work out adjustments to the digital workflow. The government should adopt a new mindset so that through a top-down approach with guidance and incentives, we can promote e-government services and one-stop services. We can also expand the functions of I Am Smart. We can enhance publicity to make it more popular among the public. I Am Smart can provide one-stop personalized digital services for the public. About more than 1 million users were registered on I Am Smart as in September last year. However, we need to consolidate the different digital services provided by government departments on the I Am Smart platform. So as to enhance user experience, the government should also publicize I Am Smart more extensively so as to promote e-government services. The government has just established the Chief Executive's Policy Unit. I believe this unit will help enhance the government's policy formulation capability in the long run, so as to draw policies that can dovetail with the national development strategies. My suggestion for the government is for the Chief Executive's Policy Unit to fulfill the function similar to the NDRC in our country. The NDRC is responsible for researching and formulating the 5-year plans and annual plans. In terms of economic and social development plans, we should also develop annual and 5-year plans in Hong Kong, and we should enhance liaison with the counterparts in the mainland. Now, when advisors are invited to join the work of the CE's Policy Unit, consideration should not only be given to experts but also to young people who have experience in the mainland, so that we can have diversity in the unit, so that we can truly give play to the unique advantages of Hong Kong and enhance the government's governance. I support the motion and the amendments. Mr. Adrian Ho. Thank you, Mr. President. I speak in support of Ms. Yong's original motion and other members' amendments. In June last year, the IMD in Switzerland published the World Competitiveness Report in 2022, and Hong Kong's ranking rose from the 7th place to the 5th place. But in terms of efficiency of our government, for many years we topped the chart, but we dropped to the 2nd place. This may reflect the flaws of our current government, and that we should address the long-standing problems. I agree with Ms. Yong's motion, but we must have confidence in our government. The government bureaus and departments work in silos, and as a result of a lack of coordination, the public do not receive the services they need, and therefore there may be livelihood problems, even governance problems in the longer term. The government, therefore, should enhance its governance. For example, in order to actively follow up on public complaints efficiently, the government should improve e-government services and one-stop services. The mainland announced the digital public service plan last year, and the important national mission is to digitize government services. The government should explore how technology can be harnessed to provide better public services, to enhance the flow of information among government departments, to enhance the capability, so that in a short period of time, in the event of an issue arising, an interdepartmental group can be set up to resolve problems. When it comes to livelihood issues such as applying for subsidies or license renewal, we can go paperless to shorten waiting time and enhance efficiency of vetting applications. Streamlined procedures should be adopted for the benefit of the general public. The government should also explain to the public the merits of digital services for the public so as to implement the initiative effectively. Civil service in Hong Kong has all along enjoyed high reputation around the world because of its efficiency and sincerity. This is the brand for Hong Kong, and this term of government should continue with the good work. I support the motion and the amendments.
Mr. Chow Siu-chung. President, enhancing governance is the aspiration of the Central People's Government for the Hong Kong government, and is also the expectation of the general public. I agree with the original motion that the government must coordinate communication among various governments, making good use of talents as well as follow up on public complaints efficiently. At present, there is still great room for improvement on these aspects. To improve governance, we need good policies and execution of them. Say, for example, tree management. According to information of 1823, as said March last year, there are 2,000 backlog cases, with 80% of them taking 90 days to address. The situation is very bad. I've talked to my friends in the industry. The frontline tree artists employed by the government are under huge pressure. There is a serious manpower shortage. Among the 9 responsible departments, LCSD is the one with the most manpower. In their answer, LCSD said they are just a team of 50 people, but they are responsible for some 50,000 trees. On average, everyone has to take care of 2,000 trees. And also, before the typhoon season each year, they will have to inspect all the trees in Hong Kong. The time is too tight, and there are also a lot of complaints concerning trees over the territory. Even with the help of the outsourced tree management team, the workload is still too heavy. It affects the quality of tree management in Hong Kong and also the speed with which complaints are handled. The government must expand the establishments to deal with the situation. Besides shortage of manpower, there are insufficient guidelines and also coordination among departments. Tree management teams have to take care of trees on roadside and carriageways, but they would have a very difficult time applying for road closure. It takes 1 month's time to do that. Frontline tree management staff have to take the risk and stop the vehicles themselves and cut tree branches. There should be better communication between departments so that road closure can be approved more efficiently and more support offered to the tree management staff. This is a professional work, and professionals should be hired to do the job. However, the reality is experienced staff under the LCSD may be redeployed to man swimming pools and beaches, and it would be a waste of their talents. It shows how rigid the mindset within the government is. There is insufficient coordination between the departments, and also we have a registration system for tree management professionals. However, the government's establishments has not kept up with time. They are not recognizing the professional status of tree artists. President, we have seen a very high wastage attrition rate of civil service. Last year, the attrition rate was 5.9%. The number of resignations has risen by 2.1%. At the same time, fewer and fewer people are applying for civil service jobs in the civil service. The job is becoming more and more unattractive. We need to have a high-quality civil service to improve the government's governance. I hope the government would deal with the situation head-on and roll out specific measures to improve civil service benefits and improve morale. I support the motion and all the amendments. Mr. Lai Tong-kwok. President, I speak in support of Ms. Eunice Yong's motion. As many members said, President Xi, in his keynote speech on the 1st of July last year, he mentioned 4 expectations. The top proposal is for the government to improve governance. Since the government has entered office, we have had a good start. The government has responded responded to President Xi's speech in his policy address and rolled out a series of measures to improve governance, including establishing the Chief Executive's Policy Unit and set up more than 100 KPIs, improving reward and punishment mechanism for the civil service. And these measures are being implemented. So besides these, what can the governments do? I think the government should change the culture in terms of creating new positions. To create permanent or supernumerary directorate-grade positions, the government has to seek the approval of the Establishments Committee and the Finance Committee. To create these positions, they come with a lot of financial commitments. For a grade 1 position, it incurs some $3 million per year. It is not including the staff costs for secretarial service and also the supporting team. And also it would affect the establishment as well as the policy direction of the departments. When should we create a new position, and can we reshuffle the manpower resources to handle the workload? The government has to give an account to the LegCo on this regard. Over the past year, I have been a member on the Establishment Subcommittee. I applaud the officials' efforts to give an explanation to members. However, there are room for improvement. There are so many positions being created. In year 2022, the government has applied 32 for the creation of 32 positions with us. Taking away the proposals in relation to the restructuring of governments, there are 24. Well, it almost seems that the government is trying to create positions simply for promoting someone. And also the time period of these positions are too long. Now, for supernumerary positions, previously the government would only apply for 2 to 3 years' time. Now, they would last 4 to 5 years. And it seems that the supernumerary positions would become permanent in the end. If you look at our documents, you can see that there are lots of proposals for extending the tenure of these positions. It shows that the government didn't plan ahead and made wrong estimation of the tenure of supernumerary positions. And also it seems that the government is bypassing the hurdles because it would be more difficult to create a permanent position. And there are also instances when the government failed to apply for a renewal or extension of the tenure for supernumerary position and then shifts the workload to other officials. And it is not after a long period of time when the government come back to the LegCo for creating a supernumerary position as well. This shows very poor management. I have several suggestions. First, the paper concerning creation of positions should be clear and brief. The government shouldn't be clumsy in the proposal and leaving members in the dark. And also, the government officials should be more direct in their responses to our questions. Third, when applying for extension of tenure of supernumerary positions, the paper should delineate what has been and has not been achieved by the candidates. And also, there should be promises and indicators on what are to be achieved during the tenure. Thank you. Mr. Benson-Luke. Thank you, President. I thank Ms. Eunice Yung for moving today's motion. President Xi, in his speech last year on the 1st of July, mentioned 4 proposals. The first proposal is that the government must improve its governance. The government mainly comprises the political appointees as well as the civil service. Political appointees are people with commitments. The civil service, on the other hand, is highly efficient and clean. However, there are a small number of civil servants who are unwilling to keep up with time. Some of them are very pessimistic in terms of embracing new technologies. sometimes they would use the excuse as that the system has been running efficiently and refuse to change. And sometimes officials would refuse to change, and it really adversely affected the public's perception of the government. Some people told me they would call 1823 when they have complaints to file. However, even for very simple complaints, there would be referrals after referrals, and they couldn't get the information they needed. Sometimes policy decision requires multiple across-bureau efforts. Well, it highlights the importance of coordination in terms of good governance. Now, in terms of, there is a textbook example that is the skip blocking the streets. Now, 10 years ago, the Census and the Audit Commission criticized that there have been buck passing among departments in terms of the management of skips. Now, the then Transport and Housing Secretary said it involves many departments, say, for example, occupation of government's land, blocking the traffic, and also environmental hygiene issue, and it is bigger than the purview of a single bureau. In the end, a joint task force was established to study together how the issue of skip can be handled. Now, this textbook example highlights the importance of collaboration and communication. It is very important for every government, especially in dealing with simple yet complicated livelihood issues. Now, last year, I moved a motion. Previously, youth policy was scattered among 9 to 10 bureaus. Say, for example, youth hostel. We have to approach different bureaus to get approval. Last year, the Youth Development Blueprint was published. The government accepted the BPA's and mine suggestion to create the position of a youth commissioner. This is a position for collaborating youth policies among different departments, and this will save time. I look forward to the youth commissioner contributing to address the youth issues as well as the housing issue. And there can be a tripartite collaboration between the governments, the private sector, and the society. With better internal coordination, the governments can address society's problem more efficiently and enhance its governance. This term of the government has rolled out a series of measures to enhance its governance. We have the results-oriented philosophy as well as KPIs. These are worth commendation. Now, as a public servant, we cannot shy away from our responsibility. We have to bear this in mind. I so submit.
Mr. Chen Yong, thank you. I speak in support of the original motion as well as the amendments. I would like to add 2 words to the motion wording. John Lee, our chief executive, leads a new team, and he's been doing his work on modernizing governance in the 20th National Congress report, presidency's speech on the 1st of July, and the chief executive's policy address have mentioned about this. First of all, a good word is about efficiency, quality, and quantity. We have government officials here. We have the Deputy Chief Secretary and the Chief Secretary here. When we try to approach the government, it's easy for us to reach them. However, for some other departments, it's still difficult to reach them. They can call us but it's difficult for us to return the call. That needs improvement. When the chief executive delivered his policy address, he talked about many different areas. There are digest kits, there are information in serious words, and there are also diagram illustrations. Another good word for the Deputy Chief Secretary. When it comes to cleaning Hong Kong, he's done very good work. He's been to many different districts. He's gone out of his office. That is a modernization of the governance. When it comes to the Strive and Thrive program, it's a targeted program to help youngsters. These are all result-oriented. We see an elevation of the governance of the government. The governing team, they've been working very hard. The civil service would need to learn from that. They need to be trained. They need to be trained on their macro perspectives, the national perspective. They should not narrow their vision to within the government, and they should deliver service that the public can feel that is modernizing. They can use WeChat, they can use WhatsApp, and should not limit form of communication to emails and telephone calls. When they can be easily reached, I'm sure that involves minimum cost. It will dispel any possible misunderstanding. Well, we have a very good hardware here in Letchko, but there are some equipment that is rather outdated. The system itself is outdated. It's quite backward from the system that we're using, so we need modernizing here. Another proposal I have is communication with the public. It should be more comprehensive. Now the borders open, you need to use the app to do it. We hope that the e-government service can be improved in the form of government apps. We need better forms of interaction to collect feedback. We need a pluralistic publicity campaign. We need to build on what they've achieved and strengthen them. Members of the public need different information disseminated in different ways. The last point I'd like to say is this. In the past, people thought that when they have not done anything wrong, it's a good thing. But nowadays, that is not acceptable. What we look for is more than that. If your work is not satisfactory, that itself is inadequate, even though you have not made any mistakes. So we need to strive to excel. So we need to improve our efficiency, quantity and quality. We need to speed it up so that we can have modernization as quickly as possible in our governance. Professor William Wong. President Xi spoke on the 1st of July. He talked about the 4 proposals. Professor Wong, you have not won your microphone. And it shows that the presidency is very concerned about our level of governance. How does the government improve its governance? We need to marry it with a smart government. We need to make use of technology to improve the efficiency of government services. We need to enhance communication amongst different departments. We need to have digitalization. We need to improve the convenience of government service. In the Policy Address 2022, the Chief Executive promise that I am Smart will be used to provide a one-stop service. In the INT blueprint, it's also mentioned that there will be improvement of e-government service. The goal is to create an e-government. What I'd like to say is that when it comes to smart government, it's not as simple as digitalizing government service. Let me give you an example. Currently, the government use apps to collect dues and tariffs, say rates and water charges. But first of all, household will have to use the paper bill to have the QR code scan before paying the bill. If you use other platforms, it's much simpler. As long as the user has made the registration, the app will show you the amount due, and you only have to click one link to pay. This shows that the government might have used electronic payment, but still you need to produce the paper bill to pay. This is just turning the procedure into an electronic form. A widely used way is to learn from user experience. The service should be user-based and user experience. You need to collect their feedback for improvement of the system to make it better and more convenient. When I talk about smart government, it's G2C, and now the interface is G2G, that is for different departments. In the 1990s, the government set up the efficiency unit. It's now subsumed under the Innovation Technology and Industry Bureau, but it should cooperate with the OGCIO to make use of new technology to streamline procedure. There should be better coordination amongst different departments for seamless transition. In this way, the government service quality and quantity will be improved. We see that on the mainland, different provinces and cities have been promoting the use of online service. You don't have to leave your home to have government service applications completed. One of the goals is that you only have to go through one procedure to complete different formalities. Say, for example, birth registration. You don't have to go to different departments. Whether you do it online or whether you only have to approach one department, the goal is to have goals clearly selected and to provide convenience to the public. I support Ms. Yong's original motion and the amendments by Mr. Look and Mr. Ng. Mr. Chung-hung. Thank you, Madam Deputy. We have patriots administering Hong Kong. We now have a governing team of patriots. Well, they have got our high expectations. We have a large number of problems that have taken root. I thank Ms. Yong for moving the original motion so that we can have an in-depth discussion on governance. That was a good start of this government because the government has talked about different problems, say, for example, turning brownfield site into spade-ready site, streamlining procedures, reduction of duplications, so land creation can be compressed to 50% of the original time required. This is a new phenomenon. We hope that we'll see more of these good initiatives. When it comes to good governance, we're talking about good officials. That's about determination, their approach, as well as their competence. We see quite a number of examples that when there is a change of team, everything has changed for the better, and similarly, there has been a change for the worse. So we need to have effective award and punishment system. For those who without the competence, they should be replaced. For those who have the capability and the determination, they should be rewarded. I would like to talk about how the LegCo can help the government. Under the general principle of patriots administering Hong Kong, the opposition here should not antagonize the government. They should not try to drag the government down. Let's turn to the West. They have bipartisan system. They are constantly fighting. The opposition is not doing its work to monitor the work of the government, but to criticize. We fully understand what happened, that we don't want to see it here. So LegCo here should not use the same path by having opposition. Members here are part of the governing team. Of course, we need to wisely monitor the government. We should urge the government to do its work properly and to try to stop them from making any mistakes. We should not just criticize, we should assist. We should help the government to get support from the public. We should help the government to explain policies to the public. With this a new norm, the government's governance efficiency can be improved. On the other hand, at the time of policy formulation, the LegCo can play a bigger role. Under the new norm, officials and legislators can work together. We have geographical constituency members here. We have functional constituency members here. They represent a large number of voters. When officials listen to legislators, they can improve their policies. Of course, it's officials who are making the decisions. But I hope the government will take on board what I said.
Mr. Sun Wee-tan. Madam Deputy, I speak in support of Ms. Yong's original motion. Presidency delivered the key address on the 1st of July last year. He puts forward 4 proposals, that is for the Hong Kong SAR government to improve governance. Under the incumbent Chief Executive John Lee's leadership, we now see that the government is meeting the aspirations. For example, the Steering Committee on Integration into Our Motherland, personally chaired by the CE, and also the 4 task forces set up, chaired by departmental secretaries to tackle livelihood issues. It shows the government's resolve and dedication to resolving problems. I think the crux of the matter is to further improve governance, and that means coordination and cooperation among government bureaus and departments. This is the right direction. But in order to improve governance further, we need sustained efforts. For example, we need to clearly define the responsibilities of government departments so as to resolve the long-standing problem of a lack of coordination within the government. This term of government strongly supports reindustrialization. The I&T Development Blueprint published last year provides support for traditional industries to be transformed and upgraded, and the textiles and garment industry is also one of the beneficiaries. I believe that we need to step up coordination among government departments in order to improve further governance. If we want to understand the industry's operation from a value chain perspective, now we understand that in the whole process, 5 policy bureaus are involved. For example, ITIB for the design of garment and Design Hong Kong is responsible for the process, and at the retail wholesale level, the CEDB, Commerce and Economic Development Bureau, is involved. And policy support is to be provided by the Innovation Technology and Industry Bureau for innovation. and the CEDB and the CMAB play very important roles in tapping overseas and mainland markets. We also need the government support on different matters. For example, a bureau sets up a center for the industry, and the Labor and Welfare Bureau also is also underpinned by the training authority that trains manpower to support the industry's operation. And there may be overlapping of duties among bureaus and departments. If coordination fails, then we won't have any idea which bureau or department should be responsible. Now, recently the Shanshoupo textile market was commissioned. According to the government, the bazaar or the market is supposed to bring in the innovation. But in fact, next to this market, we're supposed to have an innovation and design base for the industry. However, this market is not managed by the Policy Bureau, but by the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department. And the fabric market may not be consistent with the policies implemented by the other bureau. And I'm also concerned about the lack of synergy because of lack of coordination among government departments. Now, the governance should be further improved to support industrial development. There should be rationalization of responsibilities among departments, and there should also be better coordination among bureaus and departments. The R&T development blueprint also maps out the way forward, and I look forward to collaborating with the government in taking forward the development so that we can incorporate R&T in our industry as well. I also aspire to the government's implementation of the 4 proposals put forward by Presidency so that we can turn a new chapter for Hong Kong. I support the motion and the amendments. Mr. Jeffrey Lam, Madam Deputy. In the 25th anniversary of the Hong Kong SAR, Presidency delivered remarks, and he remarked that Hong Kong has entered a new phase from restoring order from chaos and moving on to prosperity. So in the coming 5 years, we will see a key phase of for Hong Kong to grasp opportunities. There are always more opportunities than challenges. Presidency has put forward 4 proposals for the SAR government, including further improving governance, earnestly addressing people's livelihood issues, and safeguarding harmony and stability together, and creating strong impetus for growth. This is the beacon for the future development of Hong Kong. And in terms of enhancing governance, the Chief Executive John Lee, after assuming office, set up 4 task forces chaired by departmental secretaries to tackle intergenerational poverty, district environmental hygiene issues, coordination of land and housing supply and public housing supply. The Chief Executive's Policy Unit has also been set up to look into long-term and strategic issues. Over 100 key performance indicators or KPIs have been put forward by the Chief Executive. I'm glad to see that among the 100 KPIs, the OASIS, the Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises, was commissioned last year, and the Talent Window Unit was also commissioned, and since October, over 7,400 applications have been received, and 5,800 of them have been approved. And this shows that the current term of government adopts a result-oriented approach, and it is very efficient. But according to some, the KPIs drawn up still leave more to be desired. So I believe the KPIs should be improved and refined, and other feasible KPIs should be drawn up as well, so that this time of government can excel. Well, we need to troll for talents, and it is an imminent task for Hong Kong in the face of an aging population and people moving out. And in the past, there were interested enterprises and talents wishing to take forward development in Hong Kong, but it was difficult for them to make inquiries. In fact, this is the issue commonly faced by many SMEs. Whenever they wish to apply for support from the government, they face this common problem. Now, in many cities around the world, a single window is provided for the public. So we need to streamline workflow and provide one-stop public service. The government should work harder so as to compete for talents and enterprises more effectively and address people's livelihood issues. Now, recently, the chief executive led a delegation to the Middle East. We take a proactive approach in telling the good stories of Hong Kong so as to draw for capital and talents. This is what the efficient market and a small government means. However, we need to, in order to attract enterprises and talents to come to Hong Kong, monetary incentive is not the only prerequisite. The government should also address livelihood issues and improve people's quality of living, and that is why the government should be visionary in terms of developing housing, public transport infrastructure, arts, sports and cultural facilities. Holistic planning with supporting initiatives should be rolled out instead of implementing stopgap measures. It's been 3 years since the start of the epidemic. It's time for us to start again against with Mainland as the hinterland. We enjoy unique advantages. I look forward to more constructive comments on improving governance so as to help the government resume normalcy. There will be a better future for Hong Kong. The time is up. Dr. An Menu. First of all, I thank Ms. Yung for moving the motion. In recent years, the government has time and again recited the 4 proposals put forward by Presidency, and that we should enhance the governance and the efficiency of governance because this is the public's aspirations. However, it seems there are so many obstacles in achieving this objective in the current system. How do we instill confidence in the minds of the public that this reform will be a success? It's really a thorny issue. I have been engaged in community work for a long time, and I've been in touch with government officials for a long time, and it seems the common problem is that the government only want to catch eyeballs instead of really get in touch with how people live. Well, last week I visited the Aberdeen market, and the market is now modernized. There are different facilities such as there are different facilities in the market for users. However, the rental and the aircon fees are astronomical. It's really staggering. It's become more costly to operate there. For example, in a cooked food center, why must the operator bear the fees, bear the cost of providing dining tables and chairs? The government should bear the cost instead. The government should not be calcified. We should not only look at figures and see whether KPIs are met. Instead, we should be people-oriented so that the public can feel that they are served. The other problem is rodent infestation in public areas, in public housing estates. It's a long-standing problem, and at the district level, I witnessed how the government departments work in silos. For a slope, the highways department is in charge. If it's a lift or an escalator, that's the EMSD, or in a housing estate, the housing department. Each government department is concerned only with the area under their purview, and they just resort to every means to make sure that mice or rodents will go elsewhere and get away from their turf. So instead of taking a coordinated approach, the efficiency and effectiveness will be hampered. One service contractor should be engaged to tackle the issue of rodent infestation at the district level. I recently received an inquiry. Somebody outside the housing estate fed pigeons, wild pigeons there. So the housing department, upon receiving inquiries, sent staff to tell the owners' corporations what to do. In the end, the incense burners should be put away, because definitely if you perform rituals for worshipping, you would put food there, and that's a source of rodent infestation. Now, originally, the OC complained about somebody feeding wild pigeons, but in the end, it seems that the OC was the cause of the problem. It's all about winning the trust of the people. At the district level, the government may encounter something really trivial, but this is, after all, in the minds of the public, a major deal that affects their daily living. If you're not able to improve the markets for the public or rodent infestation, you won't be able to enhance governance.
Mr. Kingsley Wong. Madam Deputy, to achieve modernization of governance, the government must have advanced planning in terms of the usage of manpower and resources. In terms of manpower planning, employment is a very important topic for the public. However, the government is only addressing the symptoms. For the insufficient manpower in the caring industry, the government simply relaxes the regulatory regime and introduces more imported workers. According to a report, by year 2027, there will be a shortage of 35,000 to 40,000 technical workers. We support the government to build more infrastructure and houses for people to have a home. We also want quality employment opportunities so that elites can have upward mobility, and also technical workers can enjoy the fruits of development. In the construction industry, we need an effective market and also an effective government. The government's role is to improve work safety as well as creating favorable conditions for employment. And also the government should identify the industries with greatest manpower shortage and tell the candidates how much can they earn to ensure them there will be a future in the career. And also the government must use policy initiatives to encourage people to join the trade. For example, for imported workers, they can enjoy a monthly wage. We should also offer monthly wages to local workers. The government should also step up publicity and training and education for potential candidates to join the trade. The government needs to take initiative in these aspects. Now, there are still 4 years before we reach year 2027. There is still time for the government to implement a plan to utilize the local workforce. Modernization of governance also include transitioning to economy. We can no longer rely on labor-intensive manufacturing industry. We have to catch up in terms of innovative technology to become an INT hub in the world. The government should also ensure that there is sufficient training for talents and improve the quality of our talents so that we can meet the needs of the time. Now, this month, the Financial Secretary will deliver the budget. We have been facing a fiscal deficit for some time. We understand the government has to be very prudent in terms of spending. However, we have to spend where we need to spend. It is a critical moment for the economy to rebound. The FTU suggests the government to issue consumption vouchers to help reboot the tourism and retail industry, and also to attract talents to rejoin the industry. This will be how the government can meet people's aspiration and address livelihood issues. I support the motion and the amendments. Thank you. Ms. Carmen Can. Thank you, Madam Deputy. President Xi says that it is very important to improve governance. This is his first proposal. President Xi said that improving governance structure, improving government efficiency is a pressing need because it will help Hong Kong to develop. Now, on the motion, I have 2 points to make. This term of the government has been stressing cross-bureaus and departments collaboration, and also this term of the government has created the new position of Deputy Secretary to enhance coordination. Now, the Chief Executive is the chairman of the Steering Committee of GBA Development. The CS4A chairs the Committee for Resumption of Cross-Boundary Travel, and other secretaries chaired other task forces. This is worth commending. Ms. Ines Yung stressed that we need an e-government. We need better communication between the departments and also a central database. In terms of improving e-governance and also offering e-government services, there are KPIs offered. The INT Bureau has told us about the government's progress in terms of implementing e-government audits. These are very encouraging news. However, the government is still trying to empower this move with technology rather than legislative tools. Now, it is very important to legislate for e-government services. However, in the government's reply, there is no mentioning of a legislative tool to empower these services. Now, e-government services are very important in terms of facilitation of services as well as ensuring stability in society. It is a test for the government on whether the government can combine an efficient government with an effective market. Now, the Central People's Government has offered an opinion on how to improve e-governance in its report. There is mentioning of how the government can make use of e-government services to lead development in society. It shows that in terms of data owned by the government, for example, our ID card number, and also data generated during public services, for example, immigration record, and also data submitted by the private sector in accordance with the law and kept by the government. We have to utilize these data. I declare my interest. I'm a member of the Advisory Council on privacy and personal data. Now, these data are very important in terms of serving public purposes. For example, protecting the underprivileged. We have to empower this move with legislative move. Now, earlier on, there are lots of leakages of personal data by the EAO. I don't think, and there are duplicated verification procedures adopted by the department. Now, in terms of the statutory power of the Ombudsman, members have suggested that we have to revisit the ordinance involving the power of the Ombudsman. More power should be ascribed to the Office of the Ombudsman to align with the Chief Executive's principle of a result-oriented government. Now, The memorandums signed between the governments and different advisory bodies have been entered into many years ago. To improve governance, maybe it is time to update these memorandum. I so submit. I support Ms. Eunice Yong's motion and the amendments. Thank you. Mr. Dominic Lee. Thank you, Madam Deputy. Recently, civil servants' performance have been often criticized. At the peak of the fifth wave last year, there was a lack of communication and silo mindsets between departments, so that Hong Kong was gripped by the epidemic. Now, I thank Ms. Eunice Yong for moving today's motion on modernizing governance so that we can have a discussion about that. As a fellow member of the New People's Party, I support her motion. Now, there is a lack of reward and punishment mechanism within the civil service, so that civil servants don't have a will to address problems. There is a mindset that if you do less, you would make fewer mistakes. Now, in the private sector, performances are viewed objectively in terms of results. In the civil service, however, those well-performers will not be promoted faster. And for those low achievers, they only have to avoid making huge mistakes. There is really a need to improve the culture. To address this problem, we have to make sure that the civil service pay is linked with their performance. For those who are willing and can deliver, there should be sufficient rewards. For those who are just giving them bare minimum, there should be warnings. Otherwise, they should be sacked. Now, there are a six-tier assessments appraisal system, and in the past, only those performing well could enjoy a pay rise. Now, previously, we can use this as a tool to encourage performance. However, between 2016 and 2020, there are only 8 to 17 civil servants who were appraised as with subpar performance and could not enjoy a pay rise. Is it really that there were only 17 civil servants who underperformed among the 180,000 strong civil servants? The mechanism is not delivering its purpose. No matter how you perform, you would still get a pay rise like others. No wonder there is the mindset of doing less and make fewer mistakes. So we have to reform the reward and punishment system. In his first policy address, Mr. John Lee listed 110 key performance indexes. This is the first step, and it is a correct one. It sets an objective for departments, and also it would prevent the situation where responsibilities are not clearly delineated. The CE can do more, however. He can set KPIs for individual civil servants. For those who do well, they can get a bonus. And also promotion shouldn't be based on length of service rather than the performance. And also the system, the mechanism for terminating the employment contracts of civil servants who are not delivering should be simplified. Now, our system is still based on the colonial era. Maybe the government should open up the recruitment system to attract more talents to the civil service. And also, besides political appointees, the civil service should also recruit more people who have been serving in political parties at the community level. This will help the governments to gauge public views. We hope the government can modernize its governance with a multi-pronged approach. Thank you.
Mr. Kenneth Lau. Madam Deputy, President Xi, in his speech on the 1st of July, talked about the 4 proposals. The first one is further improving its governance and to develop Hong Kong well. The maiden policy address of the Chief Executive laid out a number of blueprints to enhance Hong Kong's governance capability, efficiency, and systems. There is also mention about improving the civil service and the advocacy of result-oriented approach. This gives us the impression that they are pragmatic and they are able to deliver, and they will be able to achieve the goal of enhancing governance. Governance systems is very important. If we are to have long-term implementation of one country, two systems, we have the patriots administering Hong Kong. We need to recruit people with aspirations and capability. When it comes to our governance systems, we should break barriers. We should refuse to be calcified. We should enhance communication and enhance coordination amongst different departments. When it comes to the governance blueprint, the chief executive is our head, and they should be able to be familiar with the macro perspective and the micro perspective. He should be able to help Hong Kong to dovetail into national development. The Chief Executive's policy unit will be able to do this. There will be high-level policy formulation to dovetail into national development. The unit can also gauge the external situation and find solutions to address livelihood problems. When it comes to modern governance, the government should be swift in responding to public aspiration. Housing is an important element. This government talks about resolving problems for people living in subdivided units. They have floated the idea of light public housing. I'm sure no one will oppose to that, but it's met with resistance. There are questions about high construction cost, remote locations, and mismatch of resources. This has shaken the government's authority. It shows that the government may not be able to meet our expectations. But it's difficult to quantify policy effectiveness, but they need to properly explain the reason behind these policies and try to garner public support. They should remove the red tape in order to forge consensus. For the implementation of policies, they should keep in view the pulse of the public. The Cao reclamation for the artificial island as well as the northern metropolis, there should be extensive public consultation, including residents of the new territories. I asked the government to keep in touch with Hung Yi-kuk. These clans represent residents, and they will be able to tell you what they think. Innovation and technology changes the form of government implementation of policies. The Hong Kong government should keep up and turn itself into a smart government. There should be modernization of legislation and the use of innovation and technology. I support the original motion and the amendments. Dr. Chairman Kwong. Thank you, Madam Deputy. Now we have a full opening of the border. A number of cross-boundary families are able to reunite. We can resume normalcy. We see hope. We see that different bureaus and departments have been working hard to get our borders open. We see that they've responded to the calls of the public. And people-oriented should be crucial in the government's governance. I support Ms. Yong's original motion. With the improved electoral system and the national security law, we have stability restored. The next step is towards prosperity. If we are to modernize governance, then we will be treading in uncharted waters. We need to reform the civil service. We need to enhance the governing team. We need to make good use of modern legislation. We need to train the civil servants to give them a better understanding of our country. The website of the Civil Service Bureau says that administrative officers are administrators of public office policies. Let's look at Singapore. Starting from secondary school, talents are identified. There will be scholarship to train them. They'll be trained on policy formulation. We need to start from the elementary level. We need to listen to the people. We need to learn from Singapore. We need to understand the problems of the residents. We need to cultivate a sense of public service. We need to communicate with the public. We should not stay in the comfort zone. We should not be secluded. Can junior administrative officers be given more chances to participate in district administration? Say, for example, will they be posted in a district fight crime committee, area committee, so that they can have hands-on experience to resolve livelihood issues? It is necessary for the government to require continuous studies and training courses in courses related to country. There should be creation of more directorate posts. We need to attract more people from outside the government. I also hope that the Chief Executive's policy unit, which has just been set up, we see that they have very experienced heads. They have rich experience in the external environment, and they are a very good group. I believe that if they learn from the National Reform Commission, provincial governments, city governments, and administrative offices, and they can analyze problems, they can find solutions, they can formulate strategic policies, they can learn about the new strategic position, they can be consultants of different committees, they can regularly collect views, they can conduct analysis on different situations, they can provide ideas of implementation, they can talk about facilitation policies to create a good business environment to inject impetus to our economic development. With such a strong supporting team, I'm sure the government will be bold enough to break barriers and to scale new heights. Does any member wish to speak?
Ms. Eunice Yong, you may now speak on the amendments. Madam Deputy, I thank Mr. Michael Look and Dr. Johnny Ng for moving amendments to my motion. I support the amendments. I understand that there is something common in both amendments. They talked about e-government services. And this tallies with what I said at the outset, that is, there should be better coordination among government departments and bureaus. If we continue to go for paper-based processing, then it will be inefficient and the whole process will be stretched, and this has been criticized by many for many years. And E-government services is the unstoppable trend. The government should also catch up. Apart from harnessing technology, the government should also step up publicity and promotion, both within the civil service and among the public, so that people can all use digitized services. The other point about enhancing governance is crucial, be it one-stop services put forward by Mr. Michael Look and streamlining public administration procedures. Both are important and they should be implemented because it affects the public's perception and response to public services. And this is also key to enhancing efficiency in tackling livelihood issues. The motion is on modernizing the government's governance, and that means being more responsive to public criticisms. The public in general are not familiar with the government's operations. In the face of difficulties, they don't know where to turn to. So people will feel aggrieved if they need to go through tedious and cumbersome procedures in order to make an inquiry. I agree with Mr. Michael Look. I am smart at the moment is not convenient enough. You need to be connected to different websites of the government in order to complete a certain procedure, and it's time consuming for public users. The government should make improvements in this regard. Finally, we need to enhance connectivity between the government and the people. Both amendments refer to this point. For example, the government officials should engage more frequently with the community. This is one way of knowing more about people's aspirations and one way of letting government officials understand the public's needs. And there is a suggestion of adopting the grid management model and communicating with the public. The government has been criticized for not getting in touch with reality and people's lives, and that has to do with not understanding the community enough. I believe more visits should be made. As I said before, we are now in the digital age. The government should go paperless in collecting the public's views so that on the feedback received, the government can make improvements and address the grievances. All in all, I believe these two amendments are in line with the objective of my original motion, that is to further improve governance, earnestly addressing people's concerns and difficulties, and also realize the goals set out in the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party report, so that we have in mind people's interests, so that the government can incorporate more of my suggestions. I look forward to a positive response from the government so as to enhance communication among departments with the public so as to enhance people's quality of life.
Under Secretary for Administration, or rather Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration. Madam Deputy, once again I thank Ms. Eunice Yung, Mr. Michael Look, and Dr. Johnny Ng for moving the motion and the amendments, as well as 30 members who have offered their invaluable views. We are at a critical stage where Hong Kong is transitioning from stability to prosperity. We understand that different sectors and the public as a whole have high expectation on the governance performance of this government. The SAR government is seizing every opportunity and is losing no time in its strive to improve Hong Kong people's living standard so as to ensure the long-term success of one country, two systems. Not so long ago, we have had an in-depth discussion on improving our governance structure. Here, I shall not repeat the progress made by the 4 task forces led by secretaries or deputy secretaries, or the details of cross-departmental collaborations. The Chief Executive's Policy Unit proposed in the policy address was established in December 2022. Members are being recruited to take forward the unit's work. The CE's Policy Unit will brief the panel on public service in mid-February on its work and establishment. I hope members would offer their staunch support for the policy unit in order to enhance our overall governance capability and efficiency. In order to allow swift mobilization in the event of major incidents, the policy address proposed to enhance the existing mobilization protocol by the 4th quarter of this year. of year 2022 and introduce a government-wide mobilization level. For this purpose, the Civil Service Bureau has announced the implementation details of the government-wide mobilization level in last December. Bureaus and departments have drawn up rosters of designated personnel as required. The Bureau is preparing to conduct the first drill in the first quarter of the year, with a view to strengthening the government's responses through regular drills. On the management of talents, the government's work can be categorized under 3 levels. First, on the political appointee level. The political appointment system is flexible in that it attracts suitable candidates, both inside and outside the government, to fill politically appointed positions, bringing talents from different sectors, backgrounds, and with different expertise into the administration. With the support of a professional civil service hired under permanent terms, the government can make fully informed decisions and achieve effective governance and ensure a continuous supply of political talents. In fact, the political appointees within this term of the government comprise people from different sectors and professional backgrounds, including the civil service, political parties, the business sector, different professions, the academia, the media, and think tanks. It is in line with the purpose of the political appointment system, which is to recruit a diversified range of talents to serve the public and enhance governance. The appointment system is in keeping with times, where adjustments can be made according to practical needs. For example, the position of Deputy Secretary was created under this term of the government to strengthen cross-bureaus and departmental collaboration for delivering results. On the civil service level, civil servants are the key for the government's ability to deliver results. With ever higher expectation on government and civil servants from the public, the government will update the Civil Service Code, which has been in use since year 2009, with clearer description of the ethics and code of conduct of modern civil servants, including diligence and loyalty, being public-minded, team spirit, commitment, awareness to safeguard the sovereignty of the country, and also developmental interests, and also patriots administering Hong Kong. A number of measures have been put forward under the policy address to improve the management and reward and punishment system of the civil service. There is a clear framework of career development for civil servants so as to retain and nurture talents. We will identify junior staff with potential, commitment, and exemplary performance, and offer them with training and promotion opportunities so that the best candidates will fill suitable positions, thus enhancing governance. In the second quarter this year, we will launch the Chief Executive's Award for Exemplary Performances to openly commend teams and personnel with exemplary performance. And also the CSB will formulate measures to enhance the efficiency of the mechanism to deal with disciplinary cases and sub-performers. The CSB will consult the Public Service Commission on the enhancement measures within the year before implementing them. The Civil Service College will continue to offer a comprehensive range of training for civil servants to create a results-oriented culture and deepen civil servants' understanding of the constitutional order of the SAR and also national development. There will be 2 new training programs, including a course co-organized with the Peking University Institute of Hong Kong and Macau Study for directorate grade officers to deepen the understanding of one country, two system and contemporary China, and also a series of talks with the theme of holistic view of national security, so that we can understand better the challenges faced by Hong Kong in safeguarding national security. These programs will be launched in the second quarter this year. Also, the Civil Service College will resume visits by middle to high-ranking civil servants to the mainland to take part in study sessions of national affairs, as well as study visits and exchange activities. A second batch of high-ranking civil servants are being arranged to take part in a 2-year public administration master degree master degree course hosted by the Peking University, as well as the course of executive masters of public administration for administration talents, co-hosted with the Tsinghua University. In terms of advisory and statutory bodies, we have to attract talents to join advisory and statutory bodies so that the government can consult stakeholders before formulation of policies. Non-official members of advisory and statutory bodies are appointed on the principle of meritocracy. The government will take into account the talents, expertise, experience, integrity, and also passion to serve the public of the candidates, as well as the functions and nature of these advisory and statutory bodies in appointing these members. We will continue to encourage policy bureaus and departments to draw for more talents so that the government can tap the public pulse more accurately. To attract more young people to be involved in public affairs, the policy address proposed the Youth Participation Initiative. This includes further expanding the self-recommendation scheme for youth members and also the selection of 2 committees in relation to district affairs where some quota places in the membership will be opened up for self-recommendation by youth member. The 6th round of the self-recommendation scheme will be launched soon, and we are prepared to increase the number of committees involved, including committees of policy areas close to the hearts of young people, so that more public-minded young people can recommend themselves to become members. Our target is that by the end of this term of the government, the number of committees under the self-recommendation scheme will be increased from 65 to no less than 180, so that these committees can become incubators for talents. The Home Affairs Department has made available some of the membership of the District Youth Committee building commissions and also District Youth Development and Civic Education Committee for self-recommendation by young people. Concerning Dr. Johnny Ng's and Mr. Michael Luk's amendments, they mentioned the importance of e-government and also improving e-government services and one-stop services. As I've mentioned in my opening, the government is implementing the measures mentioned under the policy address to speed up the development of a smart government. To speed up the development of an e-government and also digitalization of public services, our target is that e-government audits will be completed for all bureaus and departments by the end of this year. And also by 2025, 100 digital government programs will be launched, utilizing AI to provide facilitation measures for members of the public and the business sector. To achieve the target of fully digitalizing our services by year 2024, and also to adopt a wide range of innovative technologies in terms of reviewing our workflow and improving our regulation regime, we will rationalize our procedures and also promote collaboration and sharing of data between governments to make our services more efficient and transparent. We will improve IM Smart and provide better service integration so that departments can easily utilize IM Smart to provide online services and rationalize their workflow, and also allowing citizens to complete procedures without going to our offices in person. We have always attached importance to the public's views and complaints. The 1823 under the Efficiency Office offers 24-hour one-stop service for the public. After receiving a complaint, the 1823 will keep close tab about the follow-up progress. If the service pledge is not met, the 1823 will issue a reminder notice and also compile a monthly report of cases overdue. If there are cases involving unclear delineation of responsibilities, 1823 will step in and report the case upward to the liaison officers of the departments. and make sure that the complainant is satisfied. In terms of improving governance on district level, the Home and Youth Affairs Bureau is conducting a district governance review exercise with the Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Bureau. They will make sure that any district bodies, no matter their form, must be apolitical advisory bodies, which are in line with Article 97 of the Basic Law and also the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong. They have to be broadly representative and familiar with district affairs so that they can advise the government on district affairs. To support our district's work and also strengthen our district network, the policy address announced the establishment of the district services and community care teams in the 18 districts. They will take forward caring activities, for example, visiting those in need and dealing with urgencies. Specific work carried out by the care teams will vary based on the district. They will also act as intermediary to facilitate communication between the governments and the people. We will make reference to the delineation of the districts in district council elections and separate the 18 districts into smaller districts where each district will have one care team, and also the district officer will be the chief commander of these community care teams, and he or she will be responsible for deploying the teams. We will make reference to the experience in Xinwan and the southern districts in establishing other care teams. We attach a lot of values to people's views, and our principal officials have visited the community to gauge the views. In the preparation for the policy address, the chief executive and his team have made numerous visits to the community and also consulted different sectors online and offline. Concerning Mr. Michael Look's proposal to improve the social distribution system, as I've mentioned in my opening, we will help those people in need by targeted poverty alleviation measures and also improving economy impetus. We have already appointed members to the new term of the Commission on Poverty. Non-official members are from the social welfare sector, academia, education sector, the business sector, and also the youth. They will identify targeted groups for poverty alleviation and advise the government on how measures can be formed to help those underprivileged groups. The first meeting will be held in the first quarter this year. Depending on work progress, we will brief the Legislative Council and the subcommittees on its work. The government will take the role as a coordinator and a promoter and implement targeted poverty alleviation measures with cross-departmental efforts and involve the community to facilitate tripartite collaboration. To earnestly address people's livelihood issues and concerns, we have improved cash allowance schemes to more effectively offer cash allowances to people in need. For the year 2022 and 2023, we have set aside $70 billion in terms of recurrent expenditure for cash allowances. It is a 60% increase compared with year 2017 to 18. Key measures include combining the normal and higher old age allowances since September 2022. The amount of higher old age allowances will be issued to applicants with a more lenient assets limit. It will benefit 50,000 elderly people who have been receiving old age living allowances. And also we are extending the limit of stay, the requirements of stay in Hong Kong from 56 days to 90 days to benefit residents who need to leave Hong Kong for a longer period of time because of various reasons. To achieve good governance, we have to ensure that our administration can address people's worries and needs in earnest, so that people can feel the actual benefits. This will ensure the steadfast implementation of one country, two systems, and our long-term prosperity. In the year 2023, we will continue to improve the economy and people's livelihood. Finally, I thank members for your valuable views. I hope that we can continue to closely work together, that at this critical period from stability to prosperity, we can achieve good governance and continue to build our growth impetus and build a better Hong Kong. Thank you.
I now call upon Mr. Michael Look to move an amendment. Mr. President, I move my amendment. I propose a question to you that Mr. Michael Look's amendment be passed. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the amendment passed. Members have been informed that as Ms. Dr. Johnny Ng, you may move your amendment. Oh, I'm sorry. It goes as follows. Members have been informed that as Mr. Michael Look's amendment has been passed, Dr. Johnny Ng will not move his amendment. Ms. Eunice Yong, you still have 1 minute and 10 seconds to reply. Then the debate will come to a close. I thank Mr. Michael Look and Dr. Johnny Ng for moving amendments to my motion. Hong Kong has entered a new phase of prosperity, and as we have quarantine-free travel with the mainland again, it's golden opportunity for us. It's time for the government to improve governance and efficiency. We have an executive-led government, and the central authorities also support enhancing the government's capability. There should be more communication, and we should make a sustained effort. The government should be proactive and capable, and innovation and technology should be deployed to consolidate data available to government departments. The government should be meticulous in reviewing the workflow of different government departments so as to further enhance governing efficiency. There are a number of indicators so as to step up efficiency of the civil service and responding to the needs of the public. These KPIs will help enhance efficiency. At the same time, the government should take note of the changing needs in society and be flexible. Flexibility is key so as to modernize the government's governance to meet the public's aspirations. I once again thank members who have spoken on the motion. I appeal to members for your support. I now put this question to you that Ms. Hoi-yan's motion as amended by Mr. Michael Look be passed. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the two groups of members present. I declare the motion as amended passed. The Council will be adjourned until the 15th of February, Wednesday, 11 a.m.